Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Rakogis' PaperTips. As you can see right here, this is my Greymon model, or at least the start of it. So today, I'm going to be attaching his teeth while talking to you all about adding the tiny pieces to the model. Now, I'm going to go right out and say it. Tiny pieces are very, very difficult to do. Takes a lot of precision, takes a lot of patience. If this video makes it look easy, it's because I've been editing the thing a lot before I post it. That, and I did already build the other side of his mouth, so I know how the teeth go together. And yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to be starting with the frontmost teeth, or tooth, which is the tiniest and therefore the most difficult. The X-Acto knife is very important with the teeth because of all the tiny, precise cuts that need to be made to get it out. Also, here we go. Yep, really minuscule. Now, when dealing with tiny pieces, sometimes you have to keep in mind you might want to cut the tabs down further than they already are. You might have to. A lot of the time the tabs are meant to be an exact size, usually made for a much larger piece than it actually is. And sometimes you just have to play with them until they go together. It's, like I say, it's not easy. You tend to spend the most time on the really little details, and yet they're the things that make people look at your models and think, wow, they must have spent a real lot of time on those really little details. And they give life to the model. Once again, cutting to trim it. Now I have to, I don't know how much you can see here because it's so tiny. I really should have got one of those magnifying webcams. Do they even have such a thing? Yeah, now I'm going to be checking Amazon when this is all done. Now a little glue on the top, and here I can see where the one piece goes, so I just have to wow, I actually got that one on my first try. Okay, so that's one tooth attached, 4 more to go. Now, one of the things about a lot of tiny pieces, a lot of the time they're glued flat against the model rather than attached to it the same way other pieces are. Now, this of course makes them a lot more manageable to build, but you have to keep in mind that those connections are often a lot weaker than, like, say, the arms. I mean, like you can see, the arm here is directly connected to the model, whereas the teeth aren't. You gotta be careful knocking those things around because You don't want him to need an unexpected trip to the dentist. Of course, you are the dentist, and... Now for this one, I've got to make a few more adjustments to it. It's not a simple pyramid. It actually has an extra ring, and that ring is tiny. Based on my first attempt, this is probably the most difficult of all the pieces on the teeth. Yes, you can use scissors for the time when accuracy is important. And you gotta be very careful getting rid of the excess trimmings if they're stuck on. It's very easy to pull them pieces apart doing that. Basically, it just takes a lot of careful work and a lot of patience. I will say this, a model with teeth like this is certainly not for beginners. Now here, I fold it over much like I would any other piece, but the tweezers can be very helpful for a lot of that tiny precision work. Or even a needle or a pin can help you get into even tighter spaces. Of course, when working with a needle or pin, you have to be careful not to damage anything. Boy. It's just like any other cap, but on a much, much smaller scale. Fold the tabs over, bend it around, and glue. You're probably not going to get them perfect. It is very, very difficult to get them perfect at this scale. You know, there's actually people who downsize entire models to this scale. Supposedly they like a challenge. That'll totally make a good video. There we have it. And now I fold the tabs over. Ultimately, it's really all about patience and practice. Now, once again, I can use the tabs, the seams, to identify where the pieces go. And in this case, because I've already built one set, I can just use that as a guideline to see where the others go. This tooth lines up with this seam here. So on the other side, same deal. Now let's glue that one in place. You gotta be careful. If you got tweezers, they're very useful here, because sometimes the glue likes sticking to your fingers better than it does the paper, especially when there isn't that much paper for it to stick it to. So, the third tooth. Now, as you can see here, I'm already cutting the tabs a bit smaller than they are on the paper. I can tell they're a little bit too big there. I mean, the size of the tabs can be set when I'm designing it, but it's still very difficult to get right. Not to mention it's too easily screwed up. So now this one is glued against the skin rather than the edge of the head. The edge of the helmet, I mean. So naturally the surface area where it's glued against the model is larger, which actually makes it a bit stronger than most connections like this, but also a bit more difficult to get accurate. Another thing you have to worry about is using too much glue. It's very easy to lose control on the smaller pieces. Well, it's very easy to lose control of the glue bottle in general, but on the smaller pieces, now in this case I should let it dry a little bit so I don't ruin the glue while I'm trying to fold the back tabs over. Alright, give them a little chance to dry while I pause the recorder so I can fold, and yeah, do the same here, and same here. The angle is so thin I could probably just cut the tabs off completely if I wanted. But I like the effect too much. And I compare it against the tab here. Get rid of a little excess. Every little excess counts a lot more on the smaller pieces. Now let's see how many times it takes me to get it onto Greymon. Once again, make sure I got the positioning right. Yeah, that was a fine example of the glue sticking to the finger better than the piece. Oop, I should probably get it on the camera a little better. Oop, now I got it upside down. And now the glue dried too much. And it's sticking to my finger again. And now it's too far in. It comes before the blue stripe. So, yeah, pretty stubborn. But believe me, I've dealt with teeth a lot more stubborn than that one. I could tell you the story about Vmon. Okay, so now there are 2 teeth left to attach to this Digimon. As we can see, the last couple teeth are quite a bit bigger than the others. Still pretty small, but you kind of get the idea. Yeah, I think I've covered most of this. Okay, here's tooth number 4. As you can see, it's quite a bit bigger than the ones closer to the front. So, it's not as difficult. Yeah, at this point, though, I think I've kind of covered the gist of it, so I'll just attach the last 2 teeth off camera. And there we have it, 1 full set of teeth for Greymon. Whew, that was tiring. But as you can see, dealing with the tiny pieces, a lot of it is just patience and persistence, and just working with them to get them in the right places. I mean, it's very, very difficult to do it perfectly, but then the same can be said of everything. The one thing you might want to consider is using thinner paper if you know you're going to be dealing with a lot of tiny pieces like this. I do know some paper crafters like to switch up what kind of paper they use depending on the model. And I know most sites recommend cardstock. I really don't see how you could do something like those little teeth with really, really thick cardstock. But yeah, something to think about. So anyway, I've got arms, legs, torso, and a tail to build. So I think I better end this video right here. Thank you for watching. I hope what I've said here was helpful. If you liked the video, give it a like, give me a subscribe, post a comment, visit me on all my other pages, and do all the usual support things. And if you have any ideas or thoughts for future videos or something you're struggling with in your papercraft, let me know. I'm always looking for new ideas. So, thanks for watching again, and have a nice night, or morning, or afternoon, or whenever it is you're watching this. Bye.